Hello, my name is Laura Ashley Medina, and this is my group leader report for HSCO 511, leading a group of women who have been victims of sexual assault and domestic violence in the past. I met with them on November 21st, 2019 at 6 p.m. for an hour-and-a-half meeting time at the Houston Police Department Adult Sex Crimes in a group setting. I had six participants total. I invited 10, and out of those 10, 6 showed up. I had prior relationships with each individual member because I was their case agent, and I investigated their cases individually. And I had a one-on-one personal relationship with each of them as I investigated their cases. I reached out to them, inviting them to meet with me to share how they were able to deal with the incident that happened to them and their coping ways, and share those ways with other members, sharing their similar stories with them. I was able to sit down in a group setting and have each member share small details about what happened to them and how they were able to carry on. So how I introduced the group was that each individual person knew who I was, but they didn't know who each other was. So I started off in a round and I had them state their name and something about themselves. And it was a small setting, so 6 people shared something about themselves and their names. And I had a feel for, at the beginning, that they were standoffish and very shy, rightfully so, because what we're dealing with is very intimate. And it was kind of, in a way, for each of them, it was embarrassing. Although for me, it's what I do for a day-to-day basis as a detective investigating sexual assaults and victims of domestic violence. But for them, it's personal, and for them, they are alone. And I wanted them to share with each one of the members that they are not alone, and that they were able to talk with one another and hear each other's stories. So as I stated, I opened it up in a round, and they were able to get a feel for it. Two of my members were very closed and did not want to really be a part of it. And I encouraged that each member to be respectful of the other group meetings, feelings and statements, and that what happens in the group does not leave this group and is very confidential. So I started off with having this, within the second round, stating, having the members state that something about themselves as a characteristics, and they were able to do that. So in an introduction to the group, it took about 10 minutes, and I was able for them to understand what I had them there for, and I wanted them to explain to others how they were able to cope with their experiences and how they were able to move forward. And I did not have them explain their story other than what it was about. So if, for instance, if it was a sexual assault related case, I said, okay, have the member state, I'm a sexual assault victim, and this is how I was able to cope with it, and this is what happened to me, and this is what I felt: sad, I felt angry, I felt alone, and carry on. And that was one example of what I had each individual person do. From that, I took about 15 minutes, and that was able for them to explain, and each individual person shared their story. And then I split the members into dyads, and they were able to talk amongst each other and share their experiences on more on a personal level. Again, some were closed, some were open for it, and that was understandable because it was a first group setting, and it was kind of, in a way, awkward, but I felt that each person was able to take away that they were not alone during this process, during their process. and going forward, I felt that my overall performance was okay. I felt that because they knew me, they were accepting to how I led the group. But I felt I definitely could have done better in what I wanted for them to take away, which was that I wanted them to talk about how they're able to cope, how they were able to explain how, you know, things might be different after their incident, especially for the sexual assault victims, and how they're scared, how they're standoffish around people, how they don't like group settings. And I wanted them to know that it was okay, but because it was just just an overall awkward setting for each one of them, that I believe that it was going to be okay. In the future, I believe if I was more organized in a way of what I wanted them to talk about, how we can go around and pull more information from each individual person and get more of an insight on how other members can see that this happened to me and this thing happened to the same person, that we can share similar stories and experiences. One of the highlights how I feel my members is that a person stating that I felt alone even when I had people even when I had friends that didn't share the same thing that happened to me. And that's a beauty about a group setting, is that you're meeting with people who share something similar with their story. And I feel that when you talk about it with other people, you can build from that and build a relationship that you can share and pour out your feelings and eventually move and rebuild yourself in a way. I believe that meetings like this are important, and hopefully my members felt it as well. Thank you.